Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Lily. I am so happy that you are here with me today. In today's video, I am going to alter another hardcover book. A couple weeks ago, I uploaded a video and it was a super easy process on how to alter a hardcover book. Well, today is no different from that. We are going to do the same, except we're going to step it up just a notch. I'm going to show you how to make pockets. Yes, with the pages, top, side, and also diagonal pockets and side tucks and just fun ways to use the pages to create the pockets themselves. So again, super easy process. And for this, I grabbed a hot pink book. Isn't it? Oh, I love this color. It's so pretty. I know it's bright, but I love it. All right. So we're going to go through all of the steps, show you how easy it is to make pockets with the pages. So you guys ready to get started? Oh, by the way, if you didn't watch the other video, I'm going to link it down below for you guys. All right. You ready to get started? Let's go.
Okay, this is a book I picked up at the Dollar Tree. It was $1.25. If you do not want to alter a brand new book, there are thrift stores, there are used bookstores, and also libraries that will have a discarded pile. And you can always go there and pick up a book that is destined for the garbage or the recycling bin, and you could save it and give it a new life. But this one right here, I gravitated towards it because of the hot pink color, and it is it is so bright and beautiful. And stay until the very end, because as I was working on this book, my eye caught something that I had worked on previously, and you'll see. Stick around to the very end and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, the very first thing I am going to do is go through the pages, the first few pages, because I don't begin to tear out any pages until, oh, I'd say maybe like the fifth or the sixth page. It all depends on the type of book that you are using. We don't want to weaken the spine, and so we need to leave some bulk in that spine. Otherwise, when you start or when you begin to tear out those pages, if you don't leave some in the beginning and some at the end, it's going to weaken the spine and the whole thing is just going to fall apart. You also don't want to tear the pages out down to the core. And I'm going to flip the book over, or maybe I already did. Anyway, but I will show you as we move along how some of that book page is left in the spine to kind of keep everything together. I'm showing you that I am removing 6 pages. So what I do is once I started, excuse me, let me backtrack. Once I've separated those first few pages that I am not going to tear out from the beginning of the book, then I begin to tear out the pages, but I save one. So I set one aside and then move it over, turn the page, leave it there, set it aside on the left-hand side. And then I tear out 6 pages, and that's what I'm showing you right here. Take out 6 pages, and I count. And in the previous journal, I actually used paper clips to mark page 1 and page 7 because we are removing the 6 book pages in between page number 1 and page number 7. Does that make sense? And the reason I use the paper clips is as a placeholder so that I know exactly which ones I'm going to tear out and I don't get carried away and tear out too many pages or more than I need. But I've clipped down the first page and then I take out 6 pages and now I marry them together. So page 1 and page 7 are the 2 pages that will end up being glued together. The reason I do this is to add a little bit more strength and more stability to the page because they are very thin. And so we are just removing, I don't know, anywhere between 50 to 70% of the pages from the book. Because if we were to leave the pages as it is and then alter on top of that, that would be really, really wide. And this little book only has a 1-inch spine. And so we have to remove some of that bulk so that when we begin to decorate the pages, we're going to add bulk. And so it can't go too wide. I mean, we are eventually going to end up with a book that's going to have some alligator mouth. It's going to be a little bit chunky. But if you don't remove any of the pages, it's just going to be too wide. Okay, right here is my very first pocket that we are going to do. And I took page number 1 and folded it in to create a side tuck spot. So once I folded it, now I'm going to grab my Fabri-Tac. I prefer to use Fabri-Tac when altering the books. It dries fast, but it gives you a little bit of wiggle room so that if you have to remove it really quick to adjust the book page, you can do that. And with a glue stick, I wasn't able to do that. So I am gluing that inside fold, and now I'm going to add a little bit of glue to the top and to the bottom, and that is what is going to create my side tuck. And that was just by folding the page over, and now I have a side tuck. And you can do it either side. So this tuck spot I'm making on the top left, but as we move further along, I will make another one like this, but it will be on the right-hand side, so on the opposite page. And then, of course, I wait for it to completely dry before I tuck anything into the pocket. Otherwise, my things are going to get stuck into the pages, you guys. And this is what I am going to do this entire process. So notice how I clipped the one page down, and now I'm going to remove 6 pages. I did edit that part out so you're not watching me tear out the 6 pages as we move along. And now the 7th page, I paper clip it. The reason I'm using paper clips to hold those two together is because those are the ones I am going to glue together. So they are my little placeholder. And then once I tear out all the pages, I will go back and glue all of my pages down. And I normally save making the pockets for the very end as well. But for demonstration purposes, I'm making the pockets as we move along. You can do it either way. You can glue the pages as you move along as well. But for me, I found it was easier for me to tear out all the pages first, clip the two together with a little paper clip, and then go back and then glue my pages. And I'm making pockets about every 2 or 3 pages, groupings of pages. And this here, I made that side. This is a side pocket, and all I did is I glued the top and the bottom. Just showing you here. And I'm going to take a circle punch, and I'm going to punch out a little notch just so it's clearly visible that it is a side pocket. I have 2 different size punches that I could use, the 1 inch and then the 2 inch. I don't think I have a 1.5 inch punch. I need to add that to my wish list because I think for this size book, a 1.5 inch circle punch would have worked best. And I'll show you why in just a second. I think the 1 inch is too small, but again, I'm working with what I have. And so if you do this, use whatever punch you have. You can also use a decorative punch if you like, or you can go in there and pencil it and then fussy cut it out with a small pair of scissors. So this is just, I'm demonstrating that you could use the 1 inch, but I opted for the 2 inch, especially for the side pocket. I think the 2 inch notch is perfect, but you're going to see how when I make a top pocket, this notch was too large for the top, and you'll see that in just a moment. So just very carefully, and I'm just notching out. I'm not cutting or punching out the complete circle, just a little tip of it, just so it's clearly visible that you've got a side pocket. Super, super cute. And I continue that, and now I'm going to not cut out, but have 2 more pages, 2 more groupings of pages. I don't know how else to call it, but this is one grouping right here where you've got, I've already taken out the 6 interior pages, and now this is a second grouping of pages. Again, I'm going to remove another 6 and then clip it together. So that is what I will call grouping of pages. And so every 2 or 3 groups of pages is when I create a pocket. And that's just what worked for me. And sometimes it'll be 5 or 6 grouping of pages before I decide to make another pocket. Sometimes I forget. And so you kind of have to keep track of what you're doing. And so You may have to flip, to the beginning pages to see how many pockets you've actually done, and you can mark it with different paper clips. Do what works best for you. I'm keeping track in my head, you guys. So as I know what pockets I want to create and how many pages or how many groupings of pages I've already paper clipped together. So now we're going to make another pocket. And this time we're going to make that top pocket, and I'm only going to glue on two sides, on the right side and then at the bottom. When I press these two pages together, and if you've noticed in the other ones, I bring them up, and then you'll see how I'm going to hold the pages, almost like clapping. I'm going to clap the pages together and then bring them up. Smooth up that glue. I'm trying to avoid the page from buckling or folding. But sometimes, no matter how hard I try to keep a page from buckling, it's going to happen, and that's okay. It's not the end of the world. We just move on. And then once we embellish it and decorate it, we can ignore the fact that some of the pages buckle just a little bit. I thought that by using a glue, in fact, when I first began to alter books and I was using glue stick, it was creating more wrinkles and it was buckling even more. So I found that by using the Fabri-Tac, it makes it so that those buckling pages don't occur as much. Okay, so now I have the top pocket. Oh, I'm showing you here. See how there's a little bit of book page there by the spine? You need that to keep your book together, or it's just going to fall apart. And then I also showed you the top pocket. Now, in hindsight, I should have used the smaller hole punch to make the notch in the top. And that's because, as you can obviously see, the width of the top of the page is much smaller than the length of the page. And so trying to work with this 2-inch hole punch, it was a little tricky. And it's obvious, it's too big for the top notch. And so, but I managed to get it into the pocket very carefully. But because I was afraid of splitting it, I didn't press it all the way down. And I didn't want to tear the pages, because my hole punch is like the big brain type of hole punch. And so it barely fit in that pocket for me to make the notch. But that's okay. I grabbed a small pair of scissors, and I'm just going to fussy cut that little excess and then clean it up with my little scissors. But yes, in hindsight, I should have used a smaller hole punch to make that top notch. Oh my gosh, this tongue-tied. Now, the notches are completely optional. I just think they look really cool, and it makes it a visible pocket. So when I'm creating or when I'm embellishing and adding all of the decorative elements to my book, I can remember that there are all of these fun pockets in the book page, or in the book. So see, nice and clean, and it looks great. It actually doesn't look, that top notch doesn't look very big once it's done. But trying to get that big brain of a punch in there, that one was tricky. So if you have a 2-inch punch that is smaller, like the EK Success ones, those are pretty cool because they're kind of flat. Or even the older Stampin' Up! Punches, those are pretty cool too. But this one with the big brain, I don't know what to call it. It's big and like a bulb. That one was tricky. Okay, again, tearing out 6 pages and then grouping my 2 pages together with my paper clip. And then I will do this a couple more times before I create yet another pocket. And then towards the end, I'm going to show you what I do towards the end. So stick around for that. So now here is the side tuck that I am making on the reverse side compared to the first one that I made. So this one is going to be on the flip side. And again, going to do the same thing. I use a clothespin to keep all of the other books, the other book pages out of the way, and that helps me a lot. So fold it over. I'm not folding it over in half. I could, but maybe 2/3 of the way, maybe 1/3 of the way. What is that? A little bit less than half. A little bit less than half is what I'm folding the book page over. And then adding the glue to keep that flap down. And then smoothing that over. And now to create the tuck spot, I will add glue at the top and at the bottom, just like I did with the first one. If you would like to see how this all comes together once all of the book pages are folded and decorated, I just uploaded a flip through video of 2 Christmas junk journals. And it's the Christmas junk journals that have a Dollar Tree ornament on the front cover. I used that as a topper. I'm going to link that video down below because in those altered books, oh my gosh, they turned out so cute. There are a lot of pockets within those pages, and so that'll be linked down below. On this one here, I had to move fast, and I had to separate the pages really quick just to make sure that they line up because they wanted to buckle, and so I'm trying to prevent that from happening. It may still buckle a little bit, and that's just what's going to happen with some of the pages, and so you just need to come to terms with that and say, okay, it's okay if that happens. We're altering a book. We're working with it as best as we can. So go slow. I was also trying to go somewhat fast because I didn't want the video to kind of go on very long. But take your time when you're working on this. I think that when the camera is on, I feel that I need to work super fast, but I don't. I can always go back and edit those extra things out. But just take your time, smooth out the pages with your glue. The very first altered books that I made back, back a few years ago, I was using, what glue did I use? I was using art glitter glue, and that works really well too. Fabri-Tac also doesn't warp or wrinkle your pages. Okay, so now we are am I getting close to the end? Almost. But now I'm going to make another side pocket. I'm going to remove those 6 pages. I can't tell from here if I'm getting close to the end or not because when I get to the end, I actually thumb through the pages to make sure I don't remove too many pages, and then all of a sudden I'm at the end and I'm stuck. Do you know what I mean? And so I'll show you that in just a moment. So going to make a side tuck, and then the notch is actually going to be on the left-hand side versus the other side pocket that I made where the notch was on the right-hand side. And you can play around, to give it more interest, change the pockets around as well. So there are 4 different types of pockets. There is a top pocket, a side pocket, and then side tucks, and there is a 4th pocket, you guys, that I almost forgot to show you, almost, but I remembered towards the end, and then I squeezed in like a 1-minute video to show you the diagonal pocket. Oh my gosh, when I was all done, I'm like, wait a minute, I forgot a pocket. So, but don't worry, I stuck it in there, so don't go away. And so again, doing the notch on the left-hand side. Do you see how big this punch is? But it's what I have. And I'm just going to clip it a little bit to give it a notch. And even though it's big and bulky, it fits fine because the length of the page allows for it. But on the top, it's a whole other story. And then these are fun. It's so much fun to have all of these like secret pockets and where you can add, more ephemera and more pictures or letters and notes. Just makes your book a lot more versatile. Okay, let's see. What am I doing here? Oh, okay. I'm almost at the end. Okay, and now this is where I kind of count the pages that I have left. And I want to make sure that I leave enough pages at the end of the book. So I've got 2, I've got 3, and I love these with the blank spot, with the blank space, because they're great for journaling or, adding more embellishments. So now I'm going to put the paper clip down onto one of the pages so that I know not to go past that page. I don't want to take out those last few pages. And now I'm going to make 2 more groupings of pages here. But I only have like 6 pages left. So I'm only going to take out 2 pages instead of the 6. So I already reserved my top page on the left-hand side, and I'm going to remove 2 pages because I want to make 2 more groupings of pages. I could have done 1, but I decided to do 2. So I'm only going to remove the 2 pages and then clip that together. And now I'll set this top page aside and remove 2 more pages. These are the 2 pages, the last 2 pages that I will be removing. And this will create my very last grouping of pages. Again, by grouping, I mean page 1 and page 7. I hope all of that makes sense, you guys. If it doesn't make sense, please leave me a question down below and I'm happy to explain or elaborate. But also, this is a continuation of the other video that I made a couple weeks ago. So you have to watch both of them. And then once you watch both of them, they will all make sense. And I will have that other one linked down below. I'm going to show you how I glue the pages together. And the rest I will do off camera. But I want to at least show you how I glue one of the groupings together. And I just take my Fabri-Tac, and because the remaining pages are not going to be pockets, I am going to glue on 3 sides, the top, the side, and the bottom. And I want to get as close to the edge as possible. And now I'm going to clap the 2 pages together and then move my hands in an upward motion to try to get the 2 pages together as smooth as possible. See how I'm, bringing them up together, smoothing it in an upward motion. And this helps so that the page doesn't buckle as much. And just smoothing it up. And then off camera, I will go and work on the remainder of the pages. But do you see how that looks? That was at least 70% of the pages have been removed. And all of those pages that I tore out, I do not throw those away. I will save those and make book page ephemera, journaling cards, and also tags that I will reinsert into the altered book. Oh, and this is the part. So as I'm working on the journal, I noticed across my table that I have these tissue box toppers that I made. I'll have a video for you down below so you can go and take a look as to how I repurposed a tissue box to make this beautiful topper. But I noticed from the corner of my eye that those pink flowers are a perfect match for this cover. And I have 2 of those toppers, and I actually have 2 of these books. So I will work on those in the future, but that topper is like the perfect size. I may have to trim it down just a tiny bit on the side, but I think it's going to look perfect on these books. Okay, don't leave because I'm going to show you now how I am going to make the diagonal pocket because I totally spaced it, you guys. So I grabbed my second book just to show you how to make the diagonal pocket. And again, I set the first page aside to the left, and I am removing 6 pages. So that first book won't have any diagonal pockets because I completely spaced it. But the second one that I'll be working on off camera, this one I will remember to include diagonal pockets. So now I have the 2 pages which I am going to glue together to make the pocket. But first I'm going to fold the left page at a diagonal. And all I'm doing is bringing in that corner and then creasing it. And then once I glue it down, I have a diagonal pocket. Super, super easy, you guys. These are a little bit fussy because they want to buckle on you. I don't know if it's because of the diagonal fold, but I do the best I can. So I'm going to glue that flap down. And then once I glue the flap down, then I will add more glue on the bottom half of the page and then at the very bottom to create the pocket. See, ta-da! So add a little bit of glue there on the side. And I'll show you in a moment what I mean about it buckling. And I honestly don't know why it does that. Maybe it's the curvature of the book. I don't know. But don't let that deter you from creating pockets. And so again, gluing them together and then smoothing it up. And I like to flip the page back and forth to kind of get it as even as possible, but it kept wanting to buckle on me regardless. And so I quickly took it apart, took that glue apart, and tried to smooth it in an upward motion to try to get it as smooth as possible without the pages buckling. Hope that makes sense, you guys. This was so much fun. I sure hope you enjoyed watching me alter a brand new book. I had a lot of fun doing it, and I'm going to work on 2, so be on the lookout for these 2 flip throughs in the future. Turned out really nice. I'm going to turn the camera over, you guys, and say goodbye before we leave. Okay? Thanks for hanging out with me.
You guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me today as we altered yet another book. And can you believe I almost forgot to show you how to alter the page where I make the diagonal pocket? Ooh! But luckily I was able to catch it just before the video ended and insert it in there. If you have any questions at all with my process, with my methods, with my techniques, please leave me a comment down below and I will get back to you as soon as possible. I appreciate you guys being here. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. And I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.